Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel. In this video, I'll be removing a German yellow jacket colony that made its nest inside of a client's bedroom wall. She could hear the scratching and the buzzing and the rumbling from within the wall space next to her bed, a mere 4 feet away from her bed. So watch as I remove this yellow jacket nest by cutting out the drywall and pulling out the nest and vacuuming up the yellow jackets. Check it out. So the first thing that I do while I'm getting ready to actually extract a nest from the wall of a client's house is I have to listen to the walls. I have to listen to where the buzzing, the main mecca of buzzing is coming from. So once I kind of get a general idea, then I can kind of like just feel my way around to see, okay, is this exactly where it's at? And in this case, the drywall was really, really soft.
It's so soft right here. See that dent?
So I was able to put my finger on it. You could see how the drywall actually moved, and you could see where the paint was literally the only thing of integrity that was separating that wasp nest from this client's bedroom.
That's just probably paint right there.
Super, super spongy. I could feel it. I could feel the ripple, and you can see it here in the video.
Listen to the sound. This is what the nest is. This is pretty hard here. There's probably envelope down in here because I can still hear noises in there. It's mainly right here. That's the spot. That's the sweet spot. I don't really have to.
Now you see I'm holding the phone, which is my camera, my flashlight, and the vacuum nozzle all with my right arm. So the nozzle is being held by my elbow and the side of my body, and the phone and the flashlight are being held with my right hand. That's virtually how I do 90% of my removals like this. Someday I'd like to actually invent a bracket that goes on my shoulders or something that can mount my camera to it, so that way I can be completely hands-free with the camera. So I will be having Hornet Queen be joining me in my removal process in 2021, so I will have a hands-free filming of these removals. As I start to break through the drywall, that's where a majority of the guards and things are kind of right on the outside of the envelope inside the wall space. I know this can be a little bit confusing to comprehend and kind of wrap your head around, but inside that wall space, it literally looks like a bald-faced hornet nest. Like it's a conical nest usually, depending on the cavity that the nest is being built in. So in the instance here, these yellow jackets are within this wall space building their envelope right up against the surface of the drywall on the inside. And as they need more space, they start chewing away the drywall to expand that space. So that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing super thin drywall, then envelope, and then comb. And then inside those different comb layers, you have the larvae, which are like the maggot, quote-unquote maggot-looking things, along with the white silk caps, which underneath of those are actually pupating adults. So every single cell is representative of one wasp. But as we all know now, that wasps will actually reuse cells. So just because it's just a certain base number of cells, does not mean that's the only number of yellow jacket adults, because they could reuse the cells and create more adults with the same cell. So you'll take notice here, as they fly around me, they'll actually go to the window that's 5-6 feet to my right. And when they do that, they pretty much just crawl on the glass and they're trying to get out. They're trying to go to the sun. And they think that there's something askew about where they came out of, so they try to fly back to the original entranceway, and they need the sun for that direction. So they try to go to the glass, and they're trying to get their way out. By the time I'm done this removal, there's probably about a few hundred on that glass on the window. So even though once the nest is removed, I still have to linger around that bedroom and vacuum up all the wasps that are inside of it. So here you can see an adult trying to pull a larva out of the cell. I guess it must have gotten damaged, and boop, in she goes. And you can also see on some of the larvae, there's like a yellowish tinge of a droplet of fluid, and that's the enzyme and protein-rich fluid that the larvae excrete. So it's a bit of a waste product for them, and the adults will drink it, and then they will either go on the outside of the nest and excrete their waste, or they'll do it right inside the cavity outside the nest. And that's why drywall oftentimes gets soft around these nests that are cavity nest building, because the excrement is being absorbed into the drywall, and it just gets super, super soft. typically the bottom comb are the ones where the queen cells are. But in this nest, there's actually queen cell on the bottom and at the very top. So I'm not really sure why. I don't know if they ran out of space, but you can see here where my nozzle is. There's definitely queen comb there. And then at the very top, there's definitely queen comb up there too. But they decided to build the queen comb in 2 different spots. And you can see this drywall is literally just like paper and a little bit of crumbling gypsum. I should have just had a utility knife and just cut the paper and the paint with the utility knife and just cut it out that way. I really didn't need the keyhole saw to get it out. So I'm just trying to vacuum up as many of the adults off of the comb as I can, and that way there's not as many flying around. Well, as you can see, there's a significant number flying around that window. But that'll be fun for a little bit later in the video. So I just vacuum up a lot of the ones off the comb layer, but the ones that are like in between the layers of comb, I don't have to worry about them too much if I'm going to pull the nest out in one piece. But in this case, I was going to be cutting up pieces of the comb off of each other. There's support structures between the layers, and that's what keeps them separated by like a 1/4 inch gap. And to get this nest out, I wanted to just cut those support structures and pull out the comb one by one until the very bottom where I pulled it out. I think there's 3 layers of comb I pull out at a time. So even though that there's a lot in between the layers of comb, there's also a lot of adults that are actually outside the comb and outside the envelope layer, and they're just within the space. So usually those are the males and sometimes queens. So even though I'm able to vacuum up a lot off the comb, I do have to kind of pay attention to when I'm pulling the nest out that I'm vacuuming up the ones that are behind the comb and behind the envelope. There's one stuck to my glove there. Once they sting the leather, sometimes their stingers get stuck. Now, their stingers aren't barbed like honeybees, but just injecting into the leather, sometimes they get stuck because they're not pulling it straight back out. They're pulling it out kind of at an angle. So you'll notice that this nest is made up of some smaller comb at the top and on the one side, but for the most part, this was a very healthy colony. If these were all stacked in one spot, it would have been about the size of a basketball. But since they were kind of working with the space that they had, they were kind of branching out and making many more smaller comb. But as we all know about German yellow jackets, they do make some of the larger nests that I actually remove. So even though this is a slightly smaller in the grand scheme of things, it was a good sized colony altogether. There's a lot of larvae inside. The comb were packed with pupating adults and things. And again, it only takes one wasp to be in your bedroom to be terrifying. And in this case, this poor lady, she had thousands of them inside of her bedroom wall. So here, the problem that I was running into is that the comb was well attached to the fiberglass insulation batting that was up inside that space. So at first I thought I was having a hard time pulling them apart from each other, but then I found that it was just really well attached to the fiberglass insulation. So I had to kind of like cut from behind the comb to get that separated better. So here you're seeing I'm pull one out, and it actually goes well behind the drywall, probably about 5 inches. So it makes the show a very, very large piece of comb. And inside that space, this is actually a dormer of a window. So it's like almost like the size of a room-sized dormer that goes outside. So that's actually where the entranceway was. It was right above the roof line, where the roof and the dormer wall and the dormer roof itself was coming out. So it's kind of hard to explain without seeing it, but those 3 different parts at a different angle was where there was a hole for some reason, and it was not caulked properly or whatever. So when I removed this nest, I actually caulked that spot shut. Actually, I stuffed it shut with some fiberglass insulation and instructed the client to get someone in there to caulk the outside of it shut. And then I just sprayed it pretty heavily with some foaming wasp killer. Really nothing else I could do there, because I could vacuum for hours, and I wouldn't be able to get behind that insulation to really be able to get all the adults out. So typically when I remove a nest, I take the nest home in the Rubbermaid bin and then separate the different comb layers and then vacuum up the adults at home. But here, since this was already pretty well, these comb layers were already so much apart, I decided just to vacuum them up the best I could from here. and get all the adults off them, so I could just literally just throw them right out for the girls when I got home. There's the queen there. Beep, in she goes. So this took a little bit of time, but this actually kind of benefited the client and for me, doing this all in one shot, because otherwise, when I'm removing the nest, wasps are flying off out of the bin anyway. So if I just vacuum everything off, then I know that I got pretty much all of the colony, and I don't have to worry about, oh, are there some left over inside the bedroom, or am I going to have to deal with, yellow jackets when I get home? So this is just easier for me just to do it all in one shot, and then I can just literally just take this comb home and dump it out for the animals for them to eat. And even so, this also gets to show me exactly how many of the adults will actually hatch on my way home. I mentioned in a lot of my videos that wasps will actually hatch out of the comb on their way home, and that kind of shows a little bit more of the numbers that can hatch out in a short period of time. So as you can see here too, that a lot of the numbers have actually subsided quite a bit because I had vacuumed so much of it up outside that wall. Now most people would realize that I do cut these videos, so the removal process is that this removal is probably about an hour and a half, and I'm cutting it down to about a 15-minute video. So you have to understand that I spend a lot of time making sure that there's no wasps inside this client's bedroom when I'm leaving. I don't want the client to be calling me and telling me they got stung or that they found a bunch of wasps on their window or whatever. So I spend a lot of time making sure that every single morsel is vacuumed up by the time I'm leaving. Okay, so now that I got the comb all vacuumed off, all the adults are vacuumed off of there, the bin's closed up, and I decided to go back up to the cavity space, which I had let go for a little while, and any of the foraging adults that are coming back from foraging are coming now into this empty space. So usually they'll just go right out and fly right back to the window, but as you can see here, they're clustering around inside of this space. Now those are males too, so the ones that are like really tight together, those are males, and then there's some queens, some new queens in there, but there's also a lot of foraging workers, which are the ones that attack, and I want to make sure that I get all of those sucked up. Now back in that corner there, you can see that's where the entranceway is. So that's where I want to aim most of my spray, and that way it'll deter and block any new ones from coming back into the space after I leave, but also to kill any of the remaining adults inside of that wall space. start taping up the hole here, and that way the homeowner doesn't have to worry about any adults coming in that are left over inside that space. It's just a temporary fix, but I advise the homeowner not to fix the drywall or have anybody come in until about maybe a week and a half after I'm done, because that gives the adults time to die. So you can see there's a heavy cluster at the top of this window, which makes for fun vacuuming. And for those of you who like seeing the wasp being vacuumed up, this is your lucky day. This is a nice treat. So. One by one, they all get vacuumed up. And that's the great thing about having a nice big window like this in a room that I'm doing a removal in, is that's where all the wasps will cluster to. So this makes it a heck of a lot easier that all these adults were around pretty much one big window. There were a couple other windows that the wasps were around that I had to vacuum up, but the majority of them were here. And they get to the window and they climb up to the top, and then they all clump together. Alright, birdies. Make something to eat. So after I got the comb home, and I was vacuuming up some of the other nests for that day, I just set up my camera here and just fed the wasp comb, and I just fed all the comb to my animals. For those of you who don't know, I have a turkey, and I have 5 chickens, and I have a squirrel. And the squirrel's name's Humphrey. She's Mother Humphrey, so she's had a couple babies. And the turkey's name is Goosey. The orange chicken there to my right is Daisy, and then the chicken right to my left is Giblet. Then from her left is Pigeon, and then Ginger, and then Henny Penny. Humphrey does not make an appearance in this removal video. I'm not really sure why she didn't come around for any larvae here, but she does like to eat the larvae. But usually she waits till the chickens are done. Alright everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, drop in the comments, let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions for future videos or something like to see me cover in an upcoming video, also drop in the comments, let me know. If you guys haven't joined the Twitch stream yet that I've been doing, I've been streaming live on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you would, come and join the stream and hang out. If you have any questions about wasps, what I do for a living, how I do my removals, how I shoot my videos, whatever, come and join the stream and hang out with the community. Alright everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video and supporting my channel and supporting my Twitch stream, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.